So hi, welcome to this video. In this video, we're going to be showing you how you can set up from the scratch your NetSupport DNA setup. Before we dive into that, just wanted to make it really clear that there are lots of resources. Our award-winning support here at NetSupport can help you with support in lots of different ways, and so a video isn't really the sort of thing that you'd like to watch. And obviously, really simple, just go to NetSupportDNA.com. When you go to the site, you'll be asked to choose corporate or education. Once you've done that, just go to the resources tab, which you can see on the screen there. If you slide down a bit, you'll see the NetSupport DNA Getting Started Guide in a variety of languages, from English to German to Spanish to French to Italian, so forth and so on. Simply click the link and that will bring up the Getting Started Guide, and everything you need there to help you is just there. But if you do get stuck, in the bottom right hand corner you can see where it says contact us today, and we have got online chats and you can contact our support team direct from there and ask questions should you get stuck there as well. But hopefully the videos today will be enough to help you get up and running using NetSupport DNA. So let's get started then. So you'll have your installer, and to install, as you're probably aware, you just simply double click onto your installer like so. Once you've done that, that will bring up a dialog box, and I'll ask you first of all if you want to allow this bit of software to make some changes to your device, and it will then extract the DNA software from the MSI package that you've got there, and it's just doing that as I'm talking. Once that's finished, it will just start the installer. Once you're in there, as with many of these sort of things, it's a case of just following what you see on screen. So just hit the next button, and then you accept the license terms agreements, as we can see there. Simply hit next, and there's a variety of options here, from server installation to console installation, standard agent installation, or a custom install. If you were to choose the custom install option, that would enable you to choose between a server, custom console, or an agent installation. We're today going to go for the server installation, which will include all of those three things: server, console, and agent. So once you've chosen that option, simply hit next, and it will then ask you a question about your SQL server. Now, if you have got a SQL server, then tick the box. If you tick the box, what will happen is it will then prompt you to type in the location of your SQL server, fill that information in, happy days. But if you haven't got one, don't worry, we've still got you covered. NetSupport DNA comes with an instance of SQL Server, so not required. We're going to do that, and so leave the option there for server blank, hit next, and that will now prompt you to put in some details for the basic SQL Server. So pop in a name there, make a note of what you're choosing as well. You probably won't need to use it very often, but should you need to get back in, it's good to keep a record of the password that you've entered in the username, so you can get into there should you need to. Once you fill that in, simply hit the next button. And at this point, if you're having a go with DNA and trialing it for the very first time, see if you like it in your organization, simply go to the evaluation section and pop in your business name. We'll just put in NetSupport for us. If you are purchasing DNA, then what you would do is you would simply just tick the license key option instead. You can browse to your license key information and pop all the information in. They're happy days, and in that instance you would hit next. But we're going for an evaluation copy, that's why we're showing you how to install both the actual console and the agent and all those other things there that you need to have for the full demonstration. So we're going for evaluation. We hit next. So on this page here, should you want to configure your DNA server to put connections from other remote network agents, you'd fill in that information there, but we're not going to do that. We're in a LAN setting, so we're just going to go straight and hit next. And at this point, you would choose corporate or education. Education DNA comes with some additional functionality, particularly linked to the requirements of network managers and IT professionals in education. So we can see all of those options. We're going to choose the education setup today. Some of those features you'll see in here, if you're a corporate customer, will not be available to you. And why would you want some of those options? You're not in education. Absolutely fine though. We're simply going to hit next now. And we're now ready to install the program. And Wizard will begin the installation as soon as you hit install. So now it's just setting up the SQL server. That happened in a few moments. Just installing all of that for you. Remember, DNA comes with SQL Server should you need it. Alternatively, if you already have it, you can point DNA to your existing tenancy of SQL within your organization. And there you go, there you have it. Now, hopefully you weren't too dizzy. We sped that process up for you to make it so you didn't actually have to spend the time waiting for it like we have. But now that it's installed, you will notice on your desktop you now have a shortcut which takes you to the DNA console. And if you look down in your system tray, you'll see the little icon there for your DNA agents. So we're good to go, and so simply hit finish and just hit yes if you need to restart. We'll do that, and we'll come back to you in a few moments with our next video. So you're now ready to log on to the DNA console for the first time. As we shared before, you've got the icon for it on your desktop. So to do that, simply click onto that and you get prompted with a login screen. Simply go to the logon screen, type in your password, as you can see is being typed in there right now. Click onto OK, and that'll bring you straight on into DNA. Now, as you can see, first time logging in. As this is the first time you've run DNA, you need to configure how agents are updated. If you're unsure, you can leave it as decide later. Speak to someone else if you want to get some advice on that. Obviously, you can get in touch with us as well. Now, look, this video is not only showing you how to log on for the first time, but one of the first things you'll want to do is set up your agents. Now, managing agents, deploying agents, speaking to agents, all these different things can be done in a variety of different ways. Now, obviously, the first option, decide later. If you're not sure on what to do with it, you want to have a little play around and watch one of those product tools you can see over there on the right-hand side. Choose decide later. Have a little poke around, see what you can find, see what you like, all those sort of things. Happy days. But at some point in time, you're going to have to deploy and configure agents onto your network. There are two main ways you can do that. Okay, you can do that either through our built-in deploy tool, and we'll be demonstrating how to do that in just a moment. But chances are, as an organization, you'll already be using a tool such as Intune or SCCM or Active Directory to manage those things through group policy, so forth and so on. So depending on the choice that you want to use, make the relevant choice on the screen here. And don't forget, at the bottom here, you can make it so that your agents are updated automatically if you're having them managed by the NetSupport DNA server. Okay, so we're going to choose that option, automatic, down the bottom there. We're going to hit OK. And we're going to have a go now at deploying these agents and managing them through our deploy tool within DNA. To do that, simply go to Tools on the ribbon at the top, and you'll see the option Discovery and Deploy. So simply click onto Discovery and Deploy, and the window will appear where you can then make some choices about how you sort of discover and deploy your agents. Now you can see there's three options here. You can search via your IP address range, you can search via your Windows networking options, or you can do it via Active Directory. Now most people tend to use IP address, or Active Directory is one of the sort of more modern ways of doing that, but a legacy kind of option is that Windows networking option there if you wanted to do it that way. But we're going to have a go at doing it through Active Directory. So to do this, simply go into the Active Directory option you choose there and choose Add. Then tick the box, and it will then show you the devices available to you. Now, if the little icon there on the left-hand side for a PC is blue, that shows you that they're available. If you just scroll down a second, then we might just see some that are greyed out. No, we don't. Now, if you do have that icon there as it being actually grey, that machine mean that machine is actually turned off. So just something to be mindful of there if you're thinking about, what's going on and why different colours and so forth and so on. So once you're in the next screen, it's just simply a case of choosing the devices that you want, and you can use Shift and click or Control click, whatever selection option you want for that. Once you've chosen the devices you want to deploy the agent to, simply click on to deploy, where you can see the mouse hovering now. And then there's some options available to you to choose from based upon what you want for your specific setup of your agent. So the first thing you can do is you can either choose your actual DNA server from the address which is already there, or you can actually do it from a user specified address by ticking the box there and popping the IP address in. You also might want to employ some internet restrictions, and that will only work if you actually have the tick box checked where I'm just showing you just there on the screen now. Other options you might want to consider, you might want to remove the option to uninstall things in Add Remove Programs if you want to have that sort of functionality available to you. So if you tick the box, that will disable that. And if there's a problem with the deployment, you might want to make it so that you can enable some retries. So you could put 4, 5, 6, 7, how many times you want in there, and the time between retries there. Whatever you want to choose, make your options. And when you're ready, just simply click OK. Just check over your options again. Everything's sort of laid out there as the deploy options that you've chosen. And when you're ready, simply hit start, and that will begin to deploy the agents to the devices that you have chosen from your list. As you can see, they're starting to deploy now. Succeeded, 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 so forth and so on. At the end, it will tell you it's deployed it to all those agents. And then when you're ready, just close that down. And there you are. Your agents have been deployed to the devices that you've wanted. Now, it sometimes takes a few moments for those to come through, but if you move your mouse over to the left-hand side, you can see just under AD containers, you've got departments. Click onto there and then click onto the drop-down, and you can then see those different devices are actually then available for you to view directly within inside your navigation here on the main page on NetSupport DNA. Okay, so by default, your agents will be dropped straight into an area titled NetSupport DNA. Now, it's called NetSupport DNA because that's the name of our domain, and so it's made the area here called NetSupport DNA, and all of our different devices with the agent deployed to it, you can see just there. And that's fine and dandy, but that's not very good for organisation, and certainly not good for automation and things working well into the future. Now, you can set up a structure manually. Just right click, as you've seen me do there, and choose the option new department, and we can sort of send things and organise it that way. But it's highly likely you've already got a really good structure already created within your Active Directory. You have your various operational units in there and so forth and so on. What NetSupport DNA can do for you is it can actually do and move all of those agents into the right departments, and for users too, automatically with our tool built into settings. So to do this, simply go to settings, as you've seen us go into there, go into general, and you'll see the pop-up here. There's a section here called Active Directory. Simply click onto Active Directory and then tick the option for layout PCs and users in their AD containers rather than departments where applicable. Do that, hit save, and then what you'll notice once you've just confirmed that with the yes option there is you'll see things bouncing around a little bit, like you'll see there. You'll see a new number next to it, 17, and then you'll be able to go in there and you'll be able to see the workstations have been deployed into the different departments you have within your organisation. And we've got things set up here for both a sort of similar sort of school and corporate kind of setup there. So you've got two for heads of departments, so forth and so on. Same sort of thing has happened with users now. We go into the AD containers, DNA.local, users, and you can see the various users have come across there as well now too. If you notice that any of your agents or users haven't moved across, please note that they will do the next time either the user logs on or the machine restarts and reconnects to the server. And that is how you can lay out your various agents in a much more easy to see way using the settings tool within inside NetSupport DNA. One of the most powerful features with NetSupport DNA is the reporting features that it has. And it tracks and monitors so many different things. In an education setting, you might be looking at your e-safety alerts. If you're in a corporate setting, it might just be your other alerts, things about PC events and system events, these sort of things happening. Now, you could employ people to sit there and watch DNA all day, but that's not a very good use of time. And so the alerts, you want them to sort of be set up in a way that it can send notifications to you. One of the best ways to receive those notifications is by email, but in order for that to happen, you first need to set up DNA so that it can be configured so that it knows how to send you an email and all of that. So you need to set up your email on NetSupport DNA. To do so, super easy. Go to settings. You can see us hovering over there right now. Go to your general options there again, and just next to where we just clicked onto Active Directory, you'll see the option for email. Click onto email, and then just pop in your different addresses. So SMTP or whatever it is, domain.com, any usernames, passwords, so forth and so on. If you're using POP rather than SMTP, put IMAP, so forth and so on. Make your changes in the drop downs, SSL, TLS, so forth and so on. When you've got it all set up, don't leave your success to chance. Hit the handy send test message, open your email client, make sure you've received your test message. If that's come through, happy days, it's all working well, and then simply go to save in the top right hand corner, save those settings, and you're good to go to receive notifications via email on any of your alerts you wanted to have or have set up using NetSupport DNA. So you've just seen how we can use the Manage Profiles option to set configurations for users or groups of users, but sometimes you want to have a bunch of configurations for specific devices. This is particularly useful in corporate settings for things like training rooms, equally useful in areas within schools, such as classrooms that have got PCs within them. So in this little video, we're going to explore how we can do that for a specific set of devices using a power management plan. So as we did before, we'll simply go to the settings option here, and then we'll go to manage existing profiles. What we need to do first of all is simply add in a new profile, which we're going to call something like training room or classroom. If you're in a school setting, you might call it classroom or IT1, or have it for all classrooms. Do that, hit OK. And then what we need to do then is go into our settings. So we go into settings, and then down the bottom here, we've got the option energy monitor. Now you'll notice we have power on and power off options, but the first thing we need to do is go to enable power management. So what we're going to do first of all is tick on the days we want the power offs to happen. The process for doing power on is exactly the same, but you would just choose the options on the left hand side. It's important to note as well that if you wanted to not have a power on option but wanted to be able to quickly and easily turn on all your devices, that is absolutely possible, doing it from within NetSupport DNA in a set area outside of here, which we can show you afterwards. So what we'll do is now simply drag across, as you can see here, to the time we want the devices to actually power off. So we're going to choose for those training room devices to go off at 6 p.m. Slide it across like so. When we're done, we simply go up to the option save at the top. Now that we've done that, all we need to do now is assign that. So we go to assign, and it's to PCs or departments. We can choose either. We're going to go for departments on this option. We're going to go through to the AD container for these specific departments. So we're going to go into here, and we're going to choose training room, and hit OK. Hit OK again, and that is ready to go now. So we simply hit close, and that is now set up. So I mentioned before a second ago that we can actually turn all these things on in one go if we want to. To do that, simply path through to where those devices are, and then go to power management and choose power on, and happy days, all those devices within that specific setting will then turn themselves on. So we're just going to go to training room, right click there, power management, power on, and that will then turn on all of those devices within that training room. Equally, we can do the whole power off, restart, so forth and so on. So lots of easy ways to do all those different things here in NetSupport DNA. So in an earlier video, we explored why it was important to use layouts, and we talked about how AD containers and using the layout tool within NetSupport DNA can help you mirror the setup you've got in Active Directory. And that really comes into its own and really becomes really helpful when it comes to being quite granular and bespoke to the settings that you want for your settings for your different users and for your different devices. If we just jump quickly over into our Explorer view for a second, and in our details view here, you can see on the profile column there that the rules, the configuration that are set up onto all these different devices are currently set to default. Now that gives, as the name suggests, a default bunch of settings. Now, obviously, there's plenty of use case scenarios where you want to deploy different settings and rules and configurations for different users and machines based on their different roles within your organization. So let's just put that into context for a second. Let's just jump into the thumbnail view for a second. So let's just say this device I'm hovering over here right now is the device belonging to the managing director. Okay, now DNA's got tons of features for tracking and monitoring internet metering. It can track all sorts of things, power management, the software's being used, by where, by whom, by when, all these different things. Now the MD might want to not have those things tracked. It might be that on the device to the left it is the device being used by account and they're doing the pay run. Again, what we can do is we can blur out the thumbnail view that we can see right in front of us here. We don't want anyone seeing what is happening around devices being used by accounts. If you're a school, the machine to the left might be the one being used by the safeguarding lead, and for safeguarding reasons, obviously, you wouldn't want to have the things being seen on that screen being seen by anybody else who don't have sort of safeguarding responsibilities within the school. So what we can do is blur the thumbnails there, just like we talked about with the accounting departments. So there's a bunch of features tied into NetSupport DNA that make it really easy and possible to set those granular controls for configurations for different users and devices based upon their needs and wants and so forth and so on. To do so is super simple. To do this, we simply go to the settings option just at the top here. And once we're in there, we go to the section where it says manage existing profiles. So we jump into here and we can see we've got the default one there. We need to add in a new profile. So let's go to add, and let's say, for example, we're going to do a setting for the managing director. Let's call it MD for example's sake. And for other users, you might want to put in a description. You can copy things from other profiles if you want to. We've only got the one that's default so far, so we'll leave that as empty for the time being. What we can do now is go into the MD section here and go to settings. And once we're in here, we can now start to get in on his granular controls. So it might be you want to go to internet metering and you want to disable that. So just disable it like so. Okay, come back out of that. It might be that you want to go into Explorer and have privacy mode turned on, so it puts whatever's on the screen as being unreadable. There's another option where we can make it so that if somebody wants to remote control, you have to give permission for that before somebody can actually jump in and work on your screen. So simply go to the user acknowledgement and then change it to view remote screen to perform any remote actions, so forth and so on. Choose whichever appropriate option you want, and then go back, and you can continue going through all these options, setting it up as you want to. Simply then go to save. Now, go into the profile again, down to assign on the right hand side. Click onto here, and the point I'd like to make here is that, as you can see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 users, AD group, PCs and departments. This is the order in which the configuration is looked at, and I think this is important to get your head around, because let's say I am the MD. Okay, I don't want the configuration to be tied to a particular machine. I want it to be tied to me as a person, so I can log on to any machine, and that configuration I've got set up, as we just seen being set up there, applies to me wherever I'm sat down and working. So I can hot desk, I can go to other offices, so forth and so on. So this profile, I want to assign it to a certain person, so I go to assign. I can then jump through and choose the person that I want that to be from the users list here. And again, this is why the AD layout option we saw in the earlier video is super useful. So I go through, I choose the right person. Let's say it's Andy. Hit OK, and away we go. We continue going through, making any of the other assignment options we want to. Don't need to for this one because it's just for the MD, which is as an individual user. But let's say we want to do one now for the admin function. Okay, so we simply go to add, we'll call it admin, and this is going to be a profile which is just linked to people who work on devices within the admin department. So we then go to the options on the right hand side for settings, make the different choices we want linked to the admin department. When we're done, we just hit save. We then go to assign, and then we do that to the Active Directory group or the department that we want for a department for admin. So go into here, choose the option for admin users, tick the admin box just in here, hit OK, and job done. And we repeat that process over and over again through manage existing profiles for all of your different users, devices, groups, so forth and so on, as you want them, within the Manage Existing Profile section here in NetSupport DNA. So these videos are all about how to get things set up so you can really get the most out of your trial, your evaluation, your setup of NetSupport DNA. So the reality is, for most organizations, it's going to be unlikely that you're going to want to use DNA with just one person. It may well be that the MD wants to have access so they can track certain things happening within the organization. It could be the head teacher wants that, or it could be that you want the head of computing in a school to be able to see certain things going on within the PC suites within their departments. It could be lots of different use case scenarios, and so with that you can set varying degrees of access to DNA for different users for different purposes, and it's really quite simple to set up. To do so, we simply go to the settings option just here, and within there we go to the area called operators. Now, before I dive into showing you the various options that we have available to us in here, I want to highlight something. Firstly, there are two ways in which you can set up these different operators within DNA. Now, the one requires you doing everything manual for each person. The other way is to pull things through using Active Directory. The benefit of using things related to Active Directory is that once you have things set up, if a person's logged onto their device and the console's installed on that device, then because it's all tied into Active Directory, they're already logged in, and so we start to benefit from SSO features, single sign-on features. So they open the console and there's no need to manage and set up and track and keep on top of varying passwords for different users. But if you do it the first way, which we'll show you in a second how to do, then every single time that person logs on to that device, they will need to log in with their username and password. Now, it's absolutely fine to do it that way, but just remember, that involves a whole separate lot of passwords you need to save, keep track of, monitor. People could forget, so forth and so on. But I mean, some organizations don't use Active Directory, and so it's important as a business that we here at NetSupport provide you both options so that you can make it work for you, however is best fitting for you within your organization. So let's have a little dive into how we set up an operator where they would have to sign in with their own password. The first thing we want to do is to go into the section where it says Add on the right hand side. If you hover over it, as you saw then briefly, it says Add New Operator. Let's go in and pop in a new operator. Let's pop a name in for this particular person. They're going to be called James. And we do need, in this example, to make sure they've got their email address, because that will send through their details to them, like so. Now, if this isn't the first time you've done this, then down the bottom you've got a little drop down where it says role, and you can choose from previous roles and bring things through there and so forth and so on. Okay, but if you're doing this for the first time, we go to the roles section on the right hand side with the little 3 dots after it. So what we need to do is we need to go to the plus button to create a new role, and we're going to call it accounts, because we're going to be thinking about some rules for James, who works in accounts. And you can make them a read-only operator or an admin operator, or we can copy things from a previous role if we want to. We're going to go for a read-only operator, so we choose OK. And looking at the permissions section now, we can, as you can see, root PC departments, root user departments. You can make it so, I mean, it's currently ticked at the moment, so show all user activity for all PCs and so forth and so on. What we can do at a granular level, if you want to, is make it so we only see PCs and workstations and things that are actually tied to that particular function within the organization. Okay, so you want accounts to have access to, let's say, just admin. Okay. And go on to OK, and that's how we set that up by clicking those 3 little dots on the right hand side. We can do for departments as well as PC departments. So we've got user departments and PC departments, so we can just choose whichever options we want in there on a really granular level that's specifically linked to that particular function for that particular operator. Once we've done that, we can go through and make all of our access rights and choose the options. We're not going to choose anything right now. We can just scroll through and see the options that are there. Very similar to the options we saw before on the setup for the profile settings that we saw in the earlier video. So you make the various choices that you want to in there, and when we're done, we simply go to the OK option down the bottom. Once we've done that, we then simply need to choose the role, as you can see being selected there, called accounts, because we created that role. And once we've done that, we click onto OK. It'll now prompt us to pop in a password. So we'll pop in a password, which will have some security. And then you've got a bunch of options underneath there we can choose. So users can be prompted to change their password at first login. You can have that checked or unchecked. It's entirely up to you how you do that. And you can inform the console user of any password update with the tick box underneath as well. When you're done, simply hit OK. You can choose to have that message displayed or not, again, up to you. Choose OK. And you'll see now that James in Accounts is set up. So that's how we do things for a single operator. But we mentioned earlier that there's an option where we can pull things through based on Active Directory. So this is where we don't create a user and then assign the roles. This is where we just simply go to roles on the right hand side. So go to roles, and this time we go to plus, and we'll call this like accounts 2 or something like that, so then we can relate to it directly. Happy days, accounts 2. Again, choose from read-only, admin, or copy of role if you want to. Click OK. And at this point, what we need to do is go to the little 3 dots next to Active Directory Group. Click onto there. And we need to deselect the Select None bit. Once we've done that, we then can access the Active Directory Group. And you can see we've got Accounts DNA console users there. Click OK. Make the choices that you want from the list. change any of the root PC departments or user departments that you want to, so forth and so on, as we saw before. Click OK. You'll then just hit close, and that's your job done. Now, you can't currently see those people in that list, but next time they go in, log themselves in, you will then be able to see them in the list. And that is how you create additional DNA console operators using NetSupport DNA. So, hopefully you've enjoyed the videos we've been sharing with you so far, getting you set up using NetSupport DNA. Obviously, there's far more that you can do with DNA that we've shown you in these short videos, but these should be enough to get you up and running and working well within our flagship and award-winning software package. In this, the last video, we're going to have a little look at how you can implement a working time within NetSupport DNA. And we felt this was worthy of inclusion because actually, whilst it's a simple thing to set up, it does have knock-on effects into lots of different areas. So by setting a working time, which is, the start of your day, when your lunch hours are, so forth and so on, it can be really helpful for both the corporate and education environment. It helps you, for example, generate your energy usage reports. The login sessions, which are tracked when you have a working time, are really helpful for not only tracking usage of devices during the right times, but it's also useful in an education setting for safeguarding, linking into the contextual risk index around online safety. It also can apply internet restrictions based upon your working hours. That can be changed at a more granular level if you wanted to, but essentially setting up these working times is super easy and really helpful when looking at all these different things as I've just explained. So how do we go about setting up working time? Well, as with many of the things we've done so far in these videos, we simply go into the settings section just here and then across into general. Once we're in general, it's a case of just going to the general option again, as you can see hovering there. And then we can see the section here halfway up called time periods. Simply go into where it says set, and we set our start of the working day, the end of our working day. We put in when our lunch period is. We talk about when our weekend is, and that's obviously useful for customers where your weekend might be a different set of days. And once you've got all those things set up, simply go to OK. Before we do that, though, just please note if you do make changes here, a restart of the console is required for these changes to take effect. To do this, then, we simply go to OK. And then we're good to go. But before we do that, let's just have a little look at the holiday period section just here. So to do that, simply go into your holiday periods and go to add on the right hand side, and you can put your holiday periods in there. We were talking about energy management and power management and energy usage reports, all these sort of things. Really important. If you've got things like bank holidays, special days where the business isn't or the school isn't going to be open, you can add these in, which can link in really nicely to your power management plans, so forth and so on. So put in May Day bank holiday or whatever the holiday is that you want to put in there. Put the start date, the end date, hit OK, and you don't have access to those holiday periods directly within inside NetSupport DNA. If you're in DNA, just one final thing to show. Help is available everywhere. At the beginning of the series of videos, we saw that you had the option to go to the website, and we had the getting started documentation there. We showed the talk option in the bottom right corner to get in touch with the team if you want to, if you've got any questions there as well. But directly within inside DNA, we've also got the help option. You can see us hovering over here, and if we simply go to the help option there, it takes you through to here, and you've got all the help available for you to get into nice and quickly and simply and easily there as well. And if you wanted to search on a key term, simply go to the section where it says search at the top there, type in the keyword you're looking for. Let's say it's operators, list topics, and then you can see all the different places. There's so many ways in which we can help you with your use of NetSupport DNA. And of course, if it isn't working for you this way, please do reach out. We're here to help. Thanks for watching these videos. We hope you found them useful, and we look forward to hearing how you've been using DNA in your setting. Thanks.